Since that fateful day when the bombs fell on America and the continent turned into a wasteland plagued by mutated monstrosities, it's fair to say that the world had found itself devolving into a survival of the fittest society. If you found yourself on Struggle Street getting by in the prosperous land of the free, you'd have a hell of a time enacting your human rights when a deathclaw is chasing you down and tearing you to shreds. You may think these new living conditions have hardened up the average person you come across, and I guess for the most part you'd be right, but even with a tougher environment to mold tougher people, there are still plenty of losers to meet in the wasteland. These losers will make you question everything. How the hell have these dummies survived this long? These Muppets would be a raider's easiest kill ever. These losers are the kind of guys you'd watch wander into the Charles River on a sunny day only to become a Milurk's lunch. In this video, we're going to list the top 5 losers you meet in the Commonwealth. This list is in no particular order, so you can judge for yourself which one takes the ultimate loser title. And before we start, I'll just say that the reasons will vary from simply their personality, attitudes, and physicality to factors like the situation you happen to find them in. First up, we have Kent Connolly. It was hard to leave this nerdy ghoul out of the list. As a ghoul, Kent has survived since the pre-war era when comic book superheroes were all the rage. Kent is the biggest Silver Shroud fan and comic book nerd you'll meet in Boston, but the truly fascinating thing about Kent is that despite seemingly surviving hundreds of years in the radioactive wastes, he hasn't worked up the courage to go and check out Hubris Comics, a short distance away from Good Neighbor. Instead, he runs his radio station in Irma's memory den, as she took pity on the former radio technician. I guess that also means he didn't have the business sense or ambition to open his own studio. Irma is basically his mum, and his studio is essentially her basement. Upon retrieving the Silver Shroud outfit from Hubris Comics, Kent will give it to you, letting you live out his dream of being the Silver Shroud. While you deliver justice, he will talk to you from afar, hidden from danger in the safety of his studio. It seems that wimpy radio hosts are a dime a dozen in the Commonwealth, as we only need to flip over the frequencies to find a guy so devoid of confidence that you can't help but cringe in every lull between songs. This is of course Travis Miles, the host of Diamond City Radio. Before offering him some much needed help, Travis will fluctuate from umming and ahhing quietly to freaking out and screaming, "Oh, we're gonna die!" He's not exactly the most professional radio host out there, and you could safely assume the only reason he hasn't died from shock after seeing a rad roach or a baby mole rat is because he stays well away from danger in his caravan deep within Diamond City. If you thought things couldn't get much worse for this guy, he has a crush on Scarlett, the waitress at the Dugout Inn, but he doesn't have the balls to say one word to her, as you'd imagine. With the sole survivor's help, he will face his fears. The owner of the Dugout Inn, Vadim Bobrov, pays 2 raiders to fight Travis and lose, mostly thanks to your handiwork. The next step is to wingman for Travis, setting him up with Scarlett. And then finally, when Vadim gets kidnapped for not paying the agreed caps, Travis and the sole survivor can kill the raiders and save Vadim. Only after all of that does Travis finally give up the loser life. Our third loser is one you can't help but sympathize for, even if he has absolutely no control over his life or his failing marriage. Paul Pembroke lives in Diamond City, and after serious romantic and financial troubles, his wife Darcy is cheating on him with Henry Cook, the owner and barkeeper of the Colonial Tap House. You almost want to root for the guy when he storms into the tap house to confront his wife and his wife's lover, but Cook makes a fool of him, berating him and beating him up. After the confrontation, Paul cowers and pouts, leaving his wife to her affair. In the Diamond City Blues quest, you can intercept a drug deal and land Paul as the new owner of the Colonial Tap House. But throughout the quest, he's easy to manipulate and, well, a total loser. It's possible to take all of the goods in the deal, sending him home with nothing and his tail between his legs. But you may not be up to that, simply out of pity for the guy. The second to last loser on this list is one of the first characters you'll meet in your Fallout 4 journey, and he is quite the pest as a human in 2077. This is the Vault-Tec rep, and his story is remarkably grim. First, he's a door-to-door salesman, donning a customer service smile and preaching of the wonders of Vault-Tec. Next thing you know, he's not even guaranteed a spot in the vault owned by the company he loves so much. The execs over at Vault-Tec must really love their customers, and so the Vault-Tec rep was exposed to all of the radiation of the Great War, turning into a hideous ghoul and being forced to live forever, spending the following 200 years as a useless outcast with no skills applicable to his new reality. He was scorned and viewed with animosity curiosity by unmutated survivors, and he ended up a vagrant, leeching off of communities and settlements before the settlers and survivors sent the pathetic ghoul packing. It was a miserable existence for this sorry soul. After being turned away at the gates of Diamond City, he found a place where he wasn't hated, in Good Neighbor. Here he hides away in his room at the Hotel Rexford until he reunites with the sole survivor. If you happen to pity this loser, you can even offer him a place at one of your settlements, which is a very nice thing to do. There he will have a renewed purpose as a merchant. Our final loser is one who deserves way more sympathy than any other survivor in the Commonwealth, yet simultaneously, it's really hard not to laugh at the poor idiot. Billy the Kid was a child on the day the bombs fell, but when he heard the sirens, it was too late to make it home to his parents. Billy improvised, hiding inside a fridge in hopes of surviving the nuclear blast and the following radioactive fallout. Well, technically speaking, Billy did succeed in exactly that. He survived the explosions, but the radiation turned him into a ghoul, halting his aging process. All things considered, it could be worse. Being a ghoul sure beats being dead, for most people I guess. Unfortunately, the fridge featured a top-of-the-line lock mechanism with no interior handle, meaning Billy was trapped in the cold dark space with no company for 210 years. He's actually pretty brave with that in mind, but come on, as if you wouldn't make fun of the kid who locks himself in a fridge. There is a potential happy ending for this Muppet, as you can return him to his parents Carol and Matt Peabody in Quincy 200 years after losing them. Subscribe to FudgeMuppet and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. In the description you can find links to all of our social media accounts, so give us a follow there if you'd like. As always, thank you so much for watching this. You guys make it all possible. My name's Michael, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.